Well, hello again. I'm back to share something that I really would like to share. And it's going to be a little bit odd and maybe complex for some people, but I want to show you more of what my personal process is like, what I'm actually doing. And then I had a little experience, not a big one, but a significant one that really um, touched me and affected me. So I'm going to share with you what that was, how I arrived there. Now, for the last 9 months, I've gone through this graphic here, which is, by the way, these are all of the months of the year, and they're in a specific sequence. The three called 2, 4, and 6. These are the three grandmothers of autumn. And then the three grandfathers of the winter. So I know it sounds odd to say grandmothers, grandfathers. These are the members of the mother's side of the family tree in sequence. Now, the bottom graphic might help you a bit. This is autumn, winter, right here at the crossover line. That's equinox. And this is spring, summer. This is a pattern of repetition. We go through the same pattern every year. We go through the same sequence of months. So I'm practicing taking my attention to each one of these months for a full month. I do my best to stay focused at least 10 seconds an hour, sometimes 10 seconds every 2 hours. I try not to miss more than 4 hours, and occasionally I do. I just plain forget. But to take a month of doing that number one, which is the first month of the autumn. Now, what's not always obvious here is the same sequence are all of the patterns of the day. So for example, this is sunset for 2 hours, 6 to 8 roughly, because it changes. And then 8 to 10 is a transition from being awake to going asleep. Number 6 is basically you're out of your body in the spirit world. Then there's a sequence of 6 hours leading up into sunrise. Going through each one of these, my goal is to experience the design, if you will, the divine design for each month of the year. Each hour of the day mirrors it. So the same pattern in a year is the same pattern as night and day. It's a correspondence. So I practice. But I also take 1 month and separate it into 4 phases, like the phases of the moon. So the 3, like the 4 phases of the moon, is divided. So each one of these months I divide into 4 different weeks. I know it's a lot, but hang in there. The first week for me is my sensitivity or appreciation for the divine feminine as the source and origin of my original authentic being. First week. That's a very sweet, tender, silent, still place. Not an easy thing to do on that first week because it means I would take the first week of every month and focus on that phase. The second phase of the month has to do with how I'm going to feel about that. That's self. The third week of the month is my relationship to others. And the fourth week of the month is what I'm giving to the world and transmitting. 3 different months of a season, 4 different parts per month. Yes, yes, just hang in there. I know you can get this. Now, to share with you my process is the month that we're in right now, where I'm recording this, has been the last month of spring. In spring, starting in the equinox, if you look at this diagram here, if you want, the red corresponds to the first month of spring. That also corresponds with fire and the increase of vital forces. And then the second month of spring, which, by the way, in my opinion, the second month of spring is filled with many different flavors of flowers. It's a wonderful time, that second month. My second month, by the way, of spring this year was not easy. I won't go into all of my litany of personal issues that came in the second month of spring. Now, the first month of spring represents the father's father and the increase of going into the father's side of the family. Sounds odd, but from autumn, the equinox, till the spring equinox, you go through 6 months of your mother's family. Then you cross over at the equinox and you go into 6 months of the father's family. 3 of them ascending, which is, by the way, the ascending day length. And you know that the highest day of the year is right at the solstice. Then it starts to go down in the day length, and you have summer going into the equinox and autumn. This is a very definitive sequence, and each one has a feeling. Now, I'm promising you, I want to share with you what my experience was in the first week of the last month of the masculine sequence. Meaning the masculine sequence was, I'm going through 6 months of men, 3 of them from my mother's family, 3 of them from my father's family. This ascending day length since the last solstice, remember in the northern hemisphere, the solstice is the return of light and the increase of light. So this last month is the highest light of the year. Now, the highest light of the year, by the way, if this is number 6. So the highest light of the year is, if you will, the projection of masculine forces associated with the dominance of the pituitary as it controls growth and all the other, well, more or less, it's called the master gland. I don't think it's all that masterful, but the vital forces of the brain. If you look around at the trees right now, where I live at least, there is such a cornucopia of growth in the trees. Where I live, I'm surrounded right in front of me right now with a canopy of large trees, all with these green deciduous leaves filling everything. 3 weeks ago, there was hardly a leaf on a tree anywhere. The heat of spring arrived and all of these leaves came, and that's how the flowers of spring came, and so on and so on. But now we're at the last day of the first week of the 6th highest feeling, the 6th of the men. Now, inside of this, I was practicing. So this is what I do in my personal practice. I take the time of the day, whatever that is, and combine it with the month I'm on. For all of these months, I take the time of the day and combine it with the month and get a feeling for it. So for example, on the time I was using at the time of this one experience I had was the what's called the 4-boy hour, which is between 8 in the morning and 10 a.m. 8 in the morning, 10 a.m. is the time of the outbound function of the heart. The outbound function of the heart, sometimes called the masculine heart or the thunderous heart or the celebratory heart, friendship, many other joyful, present, celebratory things of the outbound function of that 4-boy month. So 4-boy hour. So on the 4-boy hour of thunderous heart, I'm also in the first week of the 6-boy month. Yes, I know. Thunderous friendship heart in the 6-boy month. So what does the 6-boy month do with the highest light? So what would be the most powerful form of masculinity that you could conceive of and imagine? In nature, it might be, volcano exploding. That's pretty small, really. Lightning, thunder, that's pretty small. Maybe one of the biggest ones we're still dealing with is the Big Bang. That's a thunderous upper sending. Well, the 6-boy function for me is it's a transmission. That no matter what I'm doing, whether I know it or not, I'm transmitting. For me, 24 hours a day, my interior mechanism is transmitting, even while I'm sleeping, meaning it's transmitting an inner survival topography. Breathing keeps me breathing, digesting food, it keeps my equilibrium. It has the memories of all the things I've learned in some form or another, all of my many false belief systems. It's being transmitted. Whether I know it or not, I'm aware of it or not, I'm transmitting. I can sit here, say nothing, think nothing, and I'm still transmitting. So my suggestion is, what I'm willing to do is to examine everything I'm transmitting, known or unknown to me. So part of this process is to become aware of, gradually, sequentially, each month of the year and what I might be transmitting in each one of those months. I mean, there's a method to my madness here. I logically want to go through every month of the year that corresponds to some part of my epigenetic memory from my family tree and so on, and I'm willing to examine every single one of these for anything that is, unloving. I know that sounds like a lot. To want to discover, approximately, my estimate would be, each of us has about, just an estimate, 200 different belief systems that we constantly are involved in transmitting. Our grandparents and great-grandparents, they transmitted to us their belief systems about many things: race, color, religion, social order, man, woman, gender inequity, whatever. We've been endowed with lots of unloving transmissions. So if I'm examining my own, I want to be responsible to go, okay, what am I really doing? So in this case, I was combining my 4, which is transmission through friends, celebratory joy, into 6. 6 boy is transmitting. So I'm wanting to transmit celebratory friendship, I'm wanting to really agree to want to send that. I would love the world to be celebratory friendship. Yeah, I admit it. That's kind of wild and crazy. I really like the world to engage in continuous fraternal love. Okay, that's pretty optimistic. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I get it, but I want to at least participate in the emotional experience of a desire to want to feel friendship, celebrate the happiness of it, and then transmit it. So I was practicing it kind of strongly. Okay, I'm gonna make a desire to transmit that. Right in the middle of that, I got a bit of a reminder. The reminder was, this is the first week of the 6-boy month. I go, wait a minute. The first week is very soft. The first week is about the divine feminine of connection through pristine silence. So the pristine silence, first week, what does that feel like expressed in the 4-boy happiness, 6-boy transmission? What does that feel like? And then I had the feeling, phew, could you imagine a type of feeling that has to do with something so sweetly tender, divine feminine, being expressed through an inner happiness, like thousands of baby birds just chirping, and then transmitted with a whisper. Could you imagine feeling and transmitting happiness with a whisper? Because transmitting is my choice. I can choose to transmit or act out a compulsive habit. So in that moment, I could feel the divine feminine innocence, happiness, transmitted with a whisper. And then I realized that the magnitude of the range of feelings in a single week, because when a day or two, we start the second week of the month, where what used to be the whisper kind of goes to a little louder feeling inside me, until the third week it gets really stronger, until the fourth week it's thunderous. Wow, 4 phases. 4 phases in that 1 month. Well, okay, I told you I was going to share with you my process. This is what I'm doing, and I'm a little bit more emotionally committed to sharing with you my process week by week now. So I'm not going to make any promises I'll be there every week, but I'm going to do my best to try to get to every week if I can, and share with you week by week, especially in the Northern Hemisphere that I'm going through. What does that feel like? Even theoretically, what does that feel like? So I'm willing to do that because, well, I'm on this journey, and now I'm on the 9th month. 3 months in the autumn, 3 months in the winter, 3 months in the spring, I know it's odd, but sets of threes, they do things. So 3 sets of 3, like 9 months to manifest something, has a different effect than doing it for only 3 months. So I'm noticing a different emotional effect on me, that I'm just more sensitive to everything around me, even more today because of at least having the experience of what it feels like to transmit happiness with a whisper. I can't do it, to tell you the truth. I'm not good at it. I still whisper and it sounds like grunting, but I'm trying to whisper a higher practice of the experience to want to love, and I can't do it. I'll tell you openly and thoroughly, I can't love. Maybe you can, but I can't. And I only mean that because if I'm honest about my personal condition, I'm like a gnarled, scarred mass of tissue of memories about every painful relationship I've ever had with any person, and even the loss of one of my children, and so on and so on. I'm just, yeah. So I have a long ways to be able to go to actually be able to say to my friends, I love you. Because I can't quite get there, but I'm willing to keep working at it. So for those of you who are my friend, and those of you who choose to want to be patient with this information, thanks. I really do appreciate you're there, and somebody needs to listen to these strange babbling things, and you can test it for yourself and see how it feels. Do you notice that there are 4 phases? Not always related to the moon, but yeah, there are 4 phases. So thanks. I'll do my best to come back and do another one next week, but until then,